Welcome back. Let's now display the errors that we are getting from the server. Let's display them on the screen. So what we need to do now is we need to add a smart component to our application that could handle here the error occurred action. So let's see where could we add it. Let's go back to our application component. So this is the overall structure of our application. If we switch back to the UI, we can see here that the error message should be displayed just below the header and above the select user dropdown. So this would mean that it should be displayed here. So in order to implement this, let's say that we had here a component that we are about to create that was simply called messages. So this will receive any error message that is emitted in the application. If we head over to the command line, we can quickly create it in our application. We can simply do ng g and then we are going to say component, so we are going to generate a component and the component will be called messages. If we hit enter, we will have an initial working version of this component. Let's have a look at it. So we have here the messages component. If we switch into it, you can see here that as usual we need to delete here this selector, but other than that this should already be displaying on the screen. Let's try this out. If we do npm start, the application should start and the messages component should already be visible. So we should be able to see messages works on the screen. So once the application is built, let's switch back to the browser so we can see that messages works is here displayed as expected. Now that we have this component up and running, let's quickly switch here to the HTML template of the messages component and let's paste in some static HTML that we are going to be using to build our component. So as you can see, we just have an outer frame with a class of messages frame, and this div here is the list of our errors. We're going to have here a close icon to the right of this messages error panel, and inside we are going to have here a list of errors. Let's also switch back here to the CSS of this component, and we're going to quickly override here a margin so that the component displays correctly on the screen. If we hit Ctrl S, our application is going to be rebuilt. Let's switch back to the browser to see how does this look. So we have here the error message displayed as expected. Now let's implement the error message component. If we switch back to the component, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to inject here in the constructor the store. So let's do that. Using the private keyword, we are going to inject here the store. So we need to fill in this parameter as usual. This is the observable of application state. Let's quickly do the imports. So now we have here the store ready to use in our application. Now that we have the store, how can we display the error message? The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add here a member variable called message of type string. And if we switch back to the template, we are going to display the message here. So in order to retrieve the message from the store, we are going to define here a selector. Using this.store, we access the store and we are going to define here a simplified selector using this syntax here. So this will retrieve as an observable which selects only the UI state from the application state. So what we can do now is we can subscribe to this observable. What we're going to receive here as the values, the emitted values from this observable is the UI state. Now notice that here we don't have the type information, so let's wrap this in parentheses and let's add here a type annotation so that we have autocompletion and refactoring. So now we are going to store in the message the error message that is part of the UI state. We are going to select the current error member variable of the UI state. Now that we have the data, we just add here a little bit of formatting, and what we're going to do is we're going to switch back to the template and we're going to add some extra functionality. For example, we only want to display the error panel if we have an error message, otherwise we want to hide the error panel. So for that we're going to use ngIf and we're going to say that this div, the messages frame div, is only visible if there is a message, otherwise it's not going to be added to the DOM. Also, we have here a close icon to the right. what we want to do here is we want to add a click handler and we want to implement the following functionality. If the close icon is clicked, we should hide the message that is being displayed. So let's quickly implement this at the level of the messages component. We are going to add here a close method, and what we're going to do is if someone clicks the close icon, we are going to set the message to, for example, empty string. If we hit Ctrl S, we are going to see that the application is rebuilt. Once the application is built, we are going to switch back to the browser and we are going to select here a user, let's say Alice. Now we select one thread and we are going to try to send a new message. Let's see what happens. So as we can see, we have here a requesting error and we have here error occurred while saving message, which is exactly what we wanted. If we hit the close icon, the message disappears. So everything is working as expected. Let's now continue to explore the NGRX library ecosystem, but before we do so, let's quickly go back to our application. And just as a reminder, the heart of the error handling functionality while using NGRX Store is to use the catch operator. Now, what we want to do is we want to go to the server and we want to remove this hard-coded error that we have created. So this was just for demo purposes in order to trigger an error. So with this, we are ready to continue exploring the NGRX library ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit about immutability, which is often associated to store architectures. It's coming right up in the next lesson.